showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to Beyond the Jacket. Today we are so excited to have a guest on, but as you guys know, Beyond the Jacket is all about sharing leadership and the supervised agricultural experiences of FFA students across the country. So we're really excited to be here today. I'm really excited to be with Paige. This is an episode that we get to co-host together. And so, yeah, who do we have today, Paige?
Absolutely, Rachel. I'm so excited. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies what it means to lead with purpose and passion. Chloe Zittergreen is a college freshman at Iowa State University and is currently the Iowa FFA State President and a proud alumni of the Tri-County Community FFA chapter. Her supervised agriculture experience is floriculture entrepreneurship, and we're so excited to have her today.
Thank you, Chloe, for joining us. I don't know, I feel like that was quite the introduction from Paige, but I don't know if you have anything to add to that about, where you're from and your hometown FFA chapter and how you got to where you are today, I guess.
So my hometown FFA chapter is probably my senior year, I would say probably around 12 fully active members. So tiny, tiny chapter, not really super involved at like the state level. I was about the only one that competed in any leadership development events for years. I mean, when I got my Iowa degree, I want to say or our state degree, I was probably the first one in 8 years, I think was the numbers on that. So yeah, I see Paige's big eyes of like, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But it just spawns from such a small, tight-knit community and not a lot of education around FFA. And that's one thing that I wanted to improve. So kind of finding I don't want to call it the trailblazer of it, but finding and showing the kids that like, yeah, you can do things above the chapter level. You can compete and be successful, kind of show them that they can do that. And that was kind of through trial and error of getting kids out there and showing them, it's okay to fail with these things.
I love
so
that.
small, but that's awesome that you were super trailblazing. That was weird. Anyway, how has I know you said you came from like a smaller background. How has like your family encouraged you to move forward? I knew they've been a cornerstone in my involvement in FFA, how they kept you moving, especially when you were kind of the lonely one rising to the top.
For me, my family played such a huge role in like constantly encouraging me because you're going to have people that sit and kind of question what you're doing or why you want to do something. And so they were always there supportive in my corner telling me, like it's okay to fail. You gotta fail to learn and learn from your mistakes and grow from them. And my mom has helped, whether that's chaperone at state FFA convention or help at various events that we had. Like our advisor had broken her ankle, and so she had to have surgery and she couldn't be there. And so my mom was kind of a chaperone at a few different events and constantly giving like support and helping wherever they can with such a small chapter definitely kept pushing me. And whether that's giving me rides to things when I was younger or always just showing up and supporting. And to now this year going on year 2 of state office, whether that's breakfast in the morning before a chapter visit or just always being a listening ear, they've tried to support me in whatever way they can, if I was on the road driving across the state or just here at a local event.
I love that. I feel like when I was in FFA, my mom and I always had a super special bond with that because she was a state FFA officer in the state of Iowa, actually, and then I was. And so it was always great to have that bond, but she always really understood kind of when I was like ranting about something or if I was like, tired. And she was like, I get it. I know where you're at. And so I feel like that was always a bonding moment for us. But you were talking a little bit about your small chapter and how when you were in that chapter, you were trying to get students to be more involved. What got you involved to start with FFA?
So at my homeschool, we have to take different exploratory classes that are required. And one of those exploratory classes, both seventh and eighth grade, is agriculture. And so my first advisor, we can join FFA at my high school in eighth grade. So I was involved in junior high. And so I took ag seventh and eighth grade. And then freshman year, I had the same advisor, Mr. Striegel. And he was the one who got me involved in flowers, and it was the one to really start to push me to be my best. So, funny story. Freshman year, I'm the only freshman in the chapter. The year prior, we kind of got a conduct of meetings team together. Didn't really end up shaking out very well. But freshman year, we're sitting at the meeting and deciding, who's going to compete in what. And they're like, okay, Chloe, you're doing the creed. And I like look around at everyone, and I'm shy freshman at this point. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not talking in front of people. I am not like I'm dead set on not doing it. And they're like, come on, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? It took a whole meeting of them just like sitting there. I got bribed. They tried to convince me, all of these things. And I still to this day refuse to do the creed. Like I did not do the creed, never wanted anything to do with it, never wanted to talk in front of people. And well, we see how that turns out where I am now. But so it just Mr. Striegel was my like first motivator and first person to push me whether I wanted that or not my freshman year. And then from there, I was a grandstand usher at the Iowa State Fair. And so seeing kids like, oh, so these kids that I was becoming close with, they were district officers, and seeing the state officers, and oh, they go work this thing called the FFA booth. What's that? They wear these polos, and kind of getting exposure in that aspect of it all. From there, it turned into I was at sub-district contest, and how the sub-districts work in the Southeast District is there was only three sub-districts, so they sent the top three onto districts. Well, that year, only three kids did extemporaneous speaking, so they got their ticket punched straight to districts. So I was like, I'll do extemporaneous speaking next year. Easy ticket to districts. I'll figure out how to do it as we go. Well, day of districts rolls around, or day of sub districts rolls around. I was Googling in the van on the way to sub districts what extemporaneous speaking was, how to do it, like just to kind of figure out what to do. And I ended up like winning sub districts. I got first, moved on to districts. I got second, and then went on to get like top 4 or 5 in the state that year. And just kind of coincidental of yeah, figuring it out as you go. And I kind of joke that everyone else would talk about their FFA experiences, and that really got me interested. And seeing, I became good friends with a girl named Marissa Klein, ushering at the state fair. She was a district officer. And so she ended up like pushing me to run for district office and try that. And I ran my junior year and was elected district secretary. And then from there, seeing other state officers. Annie Bauer was a state officer when I was running for districts. And so she's very positive, influential person on my life. And so she kind of motivated me to run for state office and being involved in that. And we're here. I've done some other public speaking competitions, but that's kind of the short of it. The funny joke of refused to do public speaking at the beginning, and then I didn't really know what I was doing with extemporaneous speaking, but it all just kind of works out at the end of the day.
It's
But
crazy
you
how similar. Sorry, Rachel.
yeah,
It's funny how
I was
similar
gonna say, yeah,
our
Paige's
journeys
experience
are.
is very similar to yours, I feel like. We both extemporaneously learned how to
Mhm.
extemporaneous speak, I suppose. So
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say that, and then I just feel like everything you were saying was just rushing back memories in my head because I remember at the state fair when I was a state fair grandstand usher, for several years, I remember seeing the polos in the FFA booth and being like, I want one of those. Where
Yeah,
do I get a
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
Right
people are like,
now,
"Be more involved."
both of you are or were state officers, and I'm in the process of currently campaigning for state office. So it's just a great place to be. And what challenges did you face, Chloe? Like all the good things that have happened to you, what's something that you've seen a challenge in, but you've overcome it, and maybe some advice you'd give to a kid like me that's currently running for state office?
Your nerves will get the best of you, no question about it. You will psych yourself out. That is a very real thing. You can do. I know Iowa, we cannot campaign. It is a very like you
Yeah.
interview well, it depends. Wednesday, Thursday before state convention, then you wait all weekend. You don't even know if you're going to get voted on. So you sit there and you're like stressing all weekend long. I remember not eating because I was just so stressed about it. And then you get, well, our business sessions now Tuesday morning, used to be Monday morning, but Tuesday morning you get to Hilton, you go sit in your seats, and the head chair of the nominating committee goes, okay, we, the nominating committee, set the ballot. They set the ballot, you figure out if you're even going to give a speech and get voted on, and they pull you back into the Iowa State women's or men's locker room. So like for me as state president, it was like find out you're on ballot, 5 minutes later you're on stage giving a speech. It's bang bang, no campaigning, very cut and dry.
Wow, ours is so different. Like, completely two different worlds different. We go through a screening process, which is
Mhm.
5 or 6 different interviews that you have to go through, and then they pick 2 candidates per area, and then you campaign for 2 months of your life, pretty much. You can't make pins and you can't like have t-shirts, that type of campaign, but you have to go to everyone's banquet and you give speeches over and over again, and you really connect with kids, whether it's on Zoom or in person. And then at the annual convention, you have to do a question and answer segment in front of everyone at one of our general sessions, as well as a delegate session, which is kind of the same thing. You have to give a speech, and then they do the ballot for your 2 candidates. And then you find out that Friday of convention. So it's stressful. There's a lot of anticipation. Like, you think and think and think and think. So what you said about psyching yourself out and you're your own worst enemy, I can definitely agree with, because my head is going straight through it right now. Every possibility, every rabbit hole.
That it is a very real thing. You're like, yep, I that answer was really great. And then you like sit and you think about it and you're like, oh, maybe I could have said that better. What did they think of that? Are they going to think of me as X person because of that? And I mean, challenges, you got to roll with the punches and go in confident is my best way to say. Kind of fake it till you make it. There was so I was serving as state secretary
Great.
this last year, and for opening ceremonies, like you run, they do introductions, you're running around Hilton, and then I'm one of the last ones to get introduced. And so then I'm like standing at the microphone right in front of secretary's desk, and they just hand you a sticky note with 2 numbers on it. And you're expected to just like have it memorized, say it 2 minutes later, like boom, boom. You look at it quick, you do your part in opening ceremonies, and then you announce like members, advisors, and guests from X chapters. And so I'm sitting there, I look at the sticky note really quick. I put it back on the secretary's desk because, lights are on you. You're full image for the members. And then I'm like, crap, how many chapters were on that sticky note? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I like, your nerves are racing, spotlight on you. You're on the big screen. And I'm like, oh, I don't remember. I feel like it was like 260 something. And I was like, no, that's not right. Me, like completely full nerves, just goes out and says 290. Let me remind you, there's 270 chapters in Iowa. So
Would you get called out?
nobody really noticed except for like the current state officers and any of like the past state officers that know.
Yeah.
But it was like wrong and strong. I was like, I am proud to announce it from 290 chapters. And I was like talking to my mom later, and she's like, oh, nobody noticed. None of the members like batted an eye. And I was like, perfect. Wrong and
Yeah.
It's
strong.
probably
Wrong.
because they didn't know.
No.
That makes me giggle. I feel like the wrong and strong. I feel like I remember them teaching us that, like, if you say something wrong, you just go through it. You're
Yes.
just keep going, because nobody's gonna bat an eye if you don't go back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It was actually 270.
Yeah.
So I love that. I
So-
feel like really interesting to hear the differences between like Florida and Iowa and how that state FFA process goes. I'm excited for this podcast page because I feel like the next few episodes we're going to interview a couple of kids from like Nebraska, and I think we're trying to find somebody in Oklahoma right now. And so I feel like this is going to be really good at highlighting that although FFA is a national organization, each state does things a little bit differently and has traditions that are like super unique to their state. And I feel like one of those traditions that we have here in Iowa is the chapter, or what is it, Colt training that's happening, chapter officer leadership training that's going to be happening in June, correct?
Yes. First one is June 3rd.
Yeah, Paige doesn't have anything like that in Florida, and so I
We
wanted
have
to
a
kind of
Colt.
walk through.
We call
You
it
do
Colt.
have
But it's
I
at a
okay.
different time of year. So
Yes, okay. I was like, we've touched base on this a little bit,
I
and I was like,
think in September, don't hold me to that. I think it's in September because all of our officers are elected at the beginning of the school year, most of them.
Okay.
Our state officers are elected in June. So we're a little bit behind Iowa as far as dates go. But our summer conferences are all summer camps per se. They're not necessarily like I mean, they're leadership based, but they're not like, okay, this is how you need to lead a chapter situation. It's more like, this is how to handle yourself. So,
There you go. Well, I wanted Chloe to kind of walk through,
Mhm.
the state FFA officers just got elected in April in Iowa. Can you walk us through now that they are state FFA officers, what are they preparing for the summer and what does that kind of look like for you guys?
So we just finished up last week with our first round of national FFA trainings with our national FFA facilitator, Justin Sharp. He's from Oregon. He's doing a great job. We like to sit and, talk the differences between Iowa and Oregon and like how we joke OSU. Like the FFA officers work harder, but OSU admissions works harder to get FFA officers to come there. It's kind of the running joke that we all have. But we just finished up that. We had our spring leadership training for all of our district officers. That was about a week and a half after convention. Yeah, last week's training. And then this next week, we'll be rolling into Checkpoint One, which is our second round of trainings with National FFA. We'll have our first round of competitions. Our first CDEs will be held at Iowa State. We'll have food science, agronomy, and ag mechanics. But rolling in, it's heavy Colt preparation. So we'll be prepping all of our flip charts, or as some states call them, tear sheets, and then all of our curriculum, securing facilitators. So one in each of our districts for you. We host one in each district page, or for you guys, it's kind of like area regions. So making sure there's not too many overlaps. This year, we only have two of them on the same day. In previous years, we've had three. So trying to find enough facilitators for all of the conferences, which is right around anywhere from 18 to 20, then prepping boxes and logistics of, okay, which officers are going here? Who's driving the 4 hours up to the Northwest District up in like Sioux Falls? It's Northwest Iowa, up Dordt to Dordt College, and like having our there's nine of us. And so you have one from each of our six districts, and then our secretary, reporter, and president. Well, anyone can be balloted for secretary and reporter, and then presidents from the previous team. And then each of your districts, you have to be from that area. And so this year we have four kids from the Southeast District on the state officer team out of nine, which is insane, usually never heard of. And it just happens to be that three out of the four of us are driving catty corner all the way up to the Northwest District to go facilitate.
that's
I love
insane.
that.
When we do our conferences down here, it's the whole state at once. It's not by area.
Oh, wow.
Um, So it's really, you have to register in time. If not, once you meet the quota, then you don't get to come. But as far as like the area thing, that's never really happened. 90% of our stuff happens at the college.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how things are different. You talked about your state officer team and how the state appoints certain people for different positions, and ours is different in that case. The state appoints the president and the secretary because we don't do it where you serve a second year as the president.
Hmm.
Um, and then other than that, you have to be from your area to represent that area. So kind of similar, but kind of different. We've talked about your state officer time, which I would love to pick your brain for hours, truthfully. But I want to hear about your SAE. I'm so unfamiliar with the cut flower industry and things of that case, but I mean, I know I love pretty flowers and I love to get them from my dad and my family on holidays. But tell us a little bit about your SAE, how you got started, that kind of jazz.
So my SAE started multiple different ways, but it's based on cut flower production, mainly focusing in dahlias, which are a flower that in Iowa are most prolific in about late July, early August through our first frost in October. So they grow from a tuber, or as easy enough to say, a bulb every single year. You plant in the spring, you dig up in the fall, and they multiply. So say I planted one tuber in the spring, that one tuber will then produce like four more in the fall when I dig it up. So rapid increase, we're going to say in the easiest way possible. But my first ag teacher, Mr. Striegel, who I had seventh, eighth, and freshman year, in the fall, he would always just bring in buckets of flowers because he grew them. His kids competed in the state fair FFA floriculture show, and so he had all of the tubers and bulbs from that. And I was like, oh my gosh, these flowers are absolutely beautiful. We all know we kind of swoon over flowers. And
Thing.
yeah, the natural girl thing. And going from there, he noticed my like interest in flowers and working in the greenhouse, and he's like, hey, I used to have what I called like flower interns in the summer, and they would just come out. We'd plant flowers on my ground, use all of my water, my tubers. They would just take care of them, weed them throughout the summer, and then they could show them at the State Fair Floriculture Show, come pick flowers whenever they'd like. And I said, hey, why not do that? So I did that summer of my eighth grade year and sophomore year. Because in COVID, we didn't have State Fair, fortunately. Sad year. But going,
Very.
yeah, very sad year. Going on that, I found like my interest. I ended up help running the greenhouse. But a little background on Mr. Striegel is he came out of retirement two separate times to be an ag teacher at my high school so that we never lost our ag program.
I
They,
love him.
Commitment for this right there. That is like the
yeah.
epic motto 100 ways.
So I going into this for you, Paige, perfect interview answer of service. I'm like, oh, Mr. Striegel, all of this.
I got that answer.
I love that.
Yeah. And so kind of building on my knowledge with flowers with him, and then I was like, you know what? I wanna grow some of my own. So I bought like 5 tubers my first year, and he gave me a few to get started on top of that. And I grew like maybe 10 or 20. From there, it like turned into like 90. Then that multiplied into like 500, where I learned how to take dahlia cuttings instead of just growing straight from tubers. So then, say I had one tuber, I could pot it up in the winter here indoors, take cuttings off of it, and that one tuber will then produce me. I would create like 8 plants off of that one. And I would do that with different varieties that I really enjoyed or that performed well or were great and very appealing to work with. So then I turned in about 500 last year, and right now I'm sitting at about 1,700 dahlias.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal.
They they
Yeah, I
multiply
keep
so much.
like Facebook Marketplace, people are selling them right now. The tubers.
Hmm.
I did look at it, but it sounded complicated when I was reading about it. But you're making it sound a little bit easier in that it's maybe low maintenance for multiplying on their own.
Very, very much so. I mean, it's kind of like any other. I'm gonna treat it kind of like a tulip, but you have to dig it each year. You plant
Okay.
it, except you don't plant them in the fall. You plant them in the spring. So I've got about, ooh, do I have about 300 left to plant? Something like that. Plant it in the spring like you would a corn and soybean. You harvest in the fall, and then you just end up digging it up. And
I
then
love that.
I store mine in like vermiculite or wood shavings all winter. I divide mine out. You can keep them in their clumps, and then you replant in the spring.
Perfect. Okay, so now that you have the tubers, then you sell the tubers, and that's where you're kind of making this a business, or are you selling the cut flowers?
So a little of both. With the
Okay.
tubers multiplying each year, I wanted to increase my stock in varieties that I liked and just increasing my stock through not having to buy more and more each year if I can just increase organically. So going from that, I have started a little bit of tuber selling this year, just something small. I kind of posted on my Facebook page of go ahead and if anyone's interested, I'll sell some. But this next year, I'll be launching a website to sell global, well, nationally across the United States because my 2000, well, my 1,700 will probably produce into upwards of 3,000 plus, maybe four. So I don't have room for that many plants, nor do I want to have to think about planting that many, digging that many up, dividing that many. So, one, selling is a profit standpoint to help cover costs and overhead things, as well as I just have so many and I would love to share them with everyone. And then I also do, I guess Rachel, as you know, state officers, they are gone a lot in the summer. So for me, I grow other flowers besides dahlias of doing just like wrap bouquets in the summer and posting, oh, hey, like I'm home. I've got bouquets available. Let me know if you would like one. So I would sell some through Facebook. And then also, I did a couple events last year of bouquet bars. And I've got a cute little stand, and I take all of my stems and I organize them by color. And it would be like, oh, come pick 10 stems for $20. We'll wrap them all up, put them in brown paper, and then you can take them home.
I love that. That's so okay. So are you seeing
So
this as a
fun.
long-term business then?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure. For me, it started as something that I enjoyed. I just grew them upward. When I had about 90 of them, I just grew them for fun, something I enjoyed, showing them at the state fair. We've won state fair multiple times with them. So it's just, I would do it for free, as I would like to say. It's kind of a hobby of mine. And then people started asking me, hey, like, could I buy flowers for this occasion? Would you sell them? Do you do weddings? And I was like, oh boy, arranging a wedding. That's a little above my pay grade, as I like to say. Haven't quite learned those skills yet. Hopefully someday, but kind of worked with some other local floral designers. But for me, maybe long term, it'll honestly vary on how it grows, where it goes. Like this year, I'm gonna do a few U picks that people can come. I mean, I'll probably be weeding all of my flower beds, but they can come and pick flowers and look at all the pretty flowers, or different more bouquet bars, or doing some more wholesale.
No, I
I
love
love
this. It's so versatile. It's so cool. There's so many different avenues. I was reading up a little bit, and I know you're at Iowa State and doing
Mhm.
ag communications and floriculture, right? What's the other one?
So I'm minoring in horticulture. They don't have a floriculture minor. I would be all over it if that was an option. But they've got some good floral arrangement classes. I was planning on taking them this fall, but knowing how much I'll be gone as the state officer, you can't just like make up a floriculture lab of bouquet arranging like you can an animal science lab.
I will say, Chloe, though, I took that class during COVID, and they actually, I took two of the floriculture class or
Mhm,
floral arrangement classes at
mhm,
Iowa State, and I absolutely loved them. They were my favorite classes. But during COVID, we couldn't go to the lab, and they were like, "How are we going to do this class?"
Oh
So
boy.
they actually once a week we came in. You had to schedule a time, and then you got your flowers that you were supposed to use for your arrangement, and he made videos. The professor did, and so we went home and made those arrangements at home, and then sent videos back in of our floral arrangement. But there was always so many extra flowers, so my roommates would always get a bouquet for their room and stuff like that too, and it was
Oh,
super fun. And
cool.
we'd put them in our kitchen, and it was always like Rachel's doing floral arrangement day, and there was like flowers. But I wonder if that'd be an option for you if you talk to the professor, if they still have some of those videos on file. Maybe you can do an at home one, and
That
see if they would be willing to work with you on that.
that would be
Because
fun.
literally, I loved that class. And to this day, I'm like still using my skills. So
Who is your professor? I wonder if it's still the
I'll
same
have to
one.
look it up. I don't quite remember.
Was it
He was a freshman.
Robert? Is it
That could have been it.
he the guy who currently teaches it, he also judges showmanship for FFA floriculture at the state fair. So like he's on me every single year, like, oh, why are you not on my class register this year? Why are you not in here?
Yeah, he's probably like, I need to have you in my class.
Yeah,
So I'm sure
yes.
he'd be willing to work with you. I will find my professor's name and send it to you. So but I feel like that could be an option because I remember, being an FFA officer and going to school is a lot of work. And I don't think people recognize maybe that you're gone from school so much and why you're gone.
Mhm,
And so, yeah, that was always something that was stressful. But professors were always super kind and willing to work with us when we were able to talk to them about it ahead of time. So
mhm.
maybe that'll, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Like you guys go to school while being a state officer. In Florida, very little of the amount of kids do that. Most of them take a gap year to serve because of so many times they're out of class and things, and they truly encourage a gap year. So I mean, balancing all of that at once, or at least from what I know of it, to me, I mean, you're an angel for that. I don't think I can balance both at once.
Great.
It gets a little crazy. Iowa State is they're willing to work with us, which helps. They'll give us credits for being a state officer to help with the workload in the spring of convention preparation and like I want to say in March between going to like I was at Utah's state convention. I was out in DC with IACTE advocating for CTE funding, and then I was also where else was I at? Tennessee. So like balancing between those, I think I slept in my dorm room like 3 or 4 nights in March. I mean, between our enrichment center living quarters, it's craziness. It very much is craziness. I know Paige for ILSSO, which is the International Leadership Seminar for State Officers that National FFA puts on. One of my partners for a project was a FRIFA, who's currently a Florida FFA
What?
state officer. And so we were just kind of talking, and he said, I'm about the only one. I'm taking few credits through a community college, but everyone else is doing about nothing, which is crazy to me that they take a full year.
Yeah, it's really insane, and it's something that like I had to like reflect on deciding to run for student office. Is like, am I okay taking that gap year. I mean, you're not behind. My mom says it to me, like, state office is like having your internship or your master's degree done before you have your bachelor's degree because of the experience you get in communicating. And she keeps making me think about it that way, where I don't feel behind, if you will. um, but I know they encourage a lot of kids, like, if you decide you're gonna run super young, to start your AA degree through dual enrollment. And then that way you don't feel as behind. And looking back, if I could go back and change something, that might have been something I'd have done more of, is take more college credits so I could graduate with my AA here in the next week. And speaking of that, what's something you might go back and change, Chloe? I know
Ooh.
what's something that you would change, whether it's an FFA or your SAE or just in life in general? What's something you might go back and change? Or would you change anything at
Oh.
all?
Honestly, like I've said before, I would change and like actually do the creed my freshman year, but for me, though, I saw a quote the other day and it really resonated. And it's like, if you want to truly love yourself, you can't hate your past experiences. And I truly do think that all of those experiences that I've had, good or bad, whether that's conflict with an ag advisor or issues with in the chapter or like I could see being from a small chapter and having little experience as a negative thing and a setback and let that determine a lot of things. So I think all of those experiences have been very beneficial to me to help shape me as a person. And with those experiences, I have tools to help navigate future experiences that I have, having learned from negative and positive experiences. So, personally, I wouldn't change anything. We all go through conflict, we all go through life. There's bumps in the road, but it's your kind of character as a person that helps you navigate those things, and going through the bumps in the road is really going to help grow your character so you can show up as, I like to say, a well-rounded human being, a kind human when times do get tough and you have conflict with other people.
I love that. I feel like that really says a lot about you to say, I understand that maybe my past isn't everything that I had dreamt of, or things is perfect, but it is me and it's who I am. So I think that's really great. Talking about, I guess, what you want to change, what is something that you feel like is like advice that little Chloe, like freshman year or eighth grade year Chloe, would need to hear, I guess?
One big thing would be get uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone as much as you can, because I loved to live in that comfort zone of not doing the creed. And so funny story. So around grandstand ushering, there had been some older members in the chapter that were ushers that had like graduated the year before I started in FFA. And I was like, this sounds so much fun. I'm gonna go ahead and become grandstand usher. Put in my application, I was accepted. And first 3 days are great. Free roam of the fairgrounds, you're seeing all the concerts, all of these new people, you're trying the fair food. It's like honeymoon stage of every friendship, ever like everything. It's just like the honeymoon stage, everything's great. Nothing could go wrong. Well, you give it like I hit day 4 and 5, and I'm getting like incredibly homesick. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I was like, just leave me alone, let me be. And it got to the point of being homesick that I would like avoid my family on the fairgrounds because I was so homesick. It was so weird that they would like come up and see me and I'd be like, no, do not talk to me. I'm too homesick for this. And I told a little white lie and said I had a volleyball scrimmage that they didn't have enough girls for. So I went home for 2 days, which is like a big no-no in the ushering world. Like you are there, but because we were just coming off of COVID, they had like normally around 120 kids, but they only had 90 apply this year. So they're already short staffed and kids were going home left and right. So there was like 80 kids and they're like, okay, if you want to go home and come back, we'll let you. Like we need bodies here to help. So I went home and I told my mom, I want nothing else to do with the state fair. We're not going back. It's not going to be a thing. Well, my parents' rule is if you start something, you're going to finish it. But then if you hate it, you don't have to do it again. You're going to finish it
Oh
through.
my God, same parents.
Yeah. So I went back to the state fair that year, not wanting to, but ended up loving it because I had to get out of my comfort zone. I met more people. I connected, well, Marissa Klein, who then pushed me to run for district office. And I ended up ushering, that would have been my freshman year, so sophomore and junior year as well, and loved every moment of it. And I made so many connections with people. So it was kind of the get out of your comfort zone, get uncomfortable. And knowing that and doing that freshman year, I probably wouldn't have done extemporaneous speaking on a whim or done public speaking or ran for an office where I could have failed and it would have ended badly. So I guess that would be my big advice is get uncomfortable because it's going to grow you the most.
I love that. Paige, for your background, and I guess for everybody listening that doesn't know what a grandstand usher is, can you walk them through what
Oh, yeah.
the ushers do for the 2 weeks at the Iowa State Fair?
So at the Iowa State Fair, all of our major concerts are held in something called the Grandstand. And so they staff some security and state patrol, but just to have people to help kind of guide fairgoers and show them like, oh, here's your seats and help with like the little conflicts, they bring in FFA kids. And we have something called the Youth In and lovely Hillcrest dorms that they bring in about 120. It varies each year high school students that can apply to be a grandstand usher. You live on the Iowa State Fairgrounds for about 10, 11 days straight. You don't have to pay to live there or anything. They provide you 3 meals a day. Whether they're the best meals, I can't comment on. But you you have all day to roam the fairgrounds or help at different gates or different shows. And then you get to see the concerts at night and help fairgoers for 10 days straight. So living on the fairgrounds, you're with FFA members from across the state, hanging out with them, being fully immersed. You make very close friends, and it's almost bittersweet when you leave at the end. Like people shed tears. I did my first couple of years. Very, very bittersweet. And you make close connections, and so you're away from home on the fairgrounds for the full time, and so that I got very homesick with that, but that's more of like the grandstand usher side of it is you help at the concerts, you get to see the concerts, you live on the fairgrounds, you get to see the fairgrounds. I mean, one would think, how can you get bored at the state fair? But living on the fairgrounds for the entirety of it, you can get bored pretty quick. So we also have kids that help with the free stages as well, so that they get to help work different fun stages that host different talent shows and the different hypnotists at night. So to get full good experience on the fairgrounds.
Do they
Yeah.
still let you go swimming in the swimming pools on the fairgrounds? Okay. So, Paige, they did that when I was an FFA usher, and I think they did it for years before that too. Is because you're spending all your time there, so you're
Yeah.
like, do today, and we would all walk down together in our bathing suits and had our towels and stuff, and we'd all walk down as a huge group of like 100 and something kids to the pool and go swimming for the day. And these are not like your typical pools, these are pools that are for sale. So if you've ever been to like a trade show where they have pools set up, the random people swimming in the pools at the Iowa State Fair are generally FFA students.
Yes.
That's so fun.
Like now, if I see them swimming or like people swimming, I'm like, this is so odd.
The
But
the
it's a good
amount of
time.
stairs, like the people just like looking at, or you're like walking to get to the pools from where the dormitories are, it's like all the way across the fairground. So you are just
Yes.
walking across the fair in your swimsuit, holding a towel, maybe sunglasses, sunscreen, and everyone's just kind of like you see people walking and everyone just like turns their head. That is exactly what happens. And then you're in the pool and like everyone's walking by and they're just like looking at you. And these pools, they get filled at the beginning of state fair, so they're warm. Like it is August heat of probably like 95 every single day, high humidity. So it's not like you're swimming in cold water either. It's like lukewarm water at this point. It when you're an usher, it's the best thing ever. But now you look back and you're like, yeah, we really did do that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
definitely strange.
we have those in that. I don't think we have the ushers. I know that our state officer team is required to be at our state fair, which is
Mhm.
earlier in the year. And they work what they call the pork trailer, which is like an FFA food truck all week. And then they do all of like our awards for like our big shows and stuff, and they help manage that kind of thing. But I don't think they have the ushers. If they had it, I think I would do it. I don't know if 10 days at the state fair is probably my dream. Probably not, but I mean, hey, if we had swimming pools, it might be more fun.
So funny connection page between Florida and Iowa. I don't know if it's Tama County pork producers that provide the pork for the pork trailer at the Florida State Fair. So Tama County in Iowa.
That's
Mhm.
super cool.
So we're
There-
on, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Chloe, do you know anything about the Florida FFA state officers coming to Iowa in their visit here? Do you want to touch on that?
So Paige, for some background, I'm pretty close with Gabby Howell, and I roomed with one of
I
the
love
Florida state officers on ILSSO. So very close with the team and like getting to know them as well. And so it's funny, Gabby texted, she sent me a picture and her location said Des Moines, Iowa. And I'm like, what are you doing in Des Moines? Why are you at the airport? Like,
We
what are
do it
you doing
every year.
here? And she was like, "Oh yeah, we take a trip to Iowa." And I said, what do you come to Iowa for?" She's like, "Oh, it's an FFA trip and we come like tour your guys' ag stuff." And I said, "Oh, like that's so awesome. Like, why are you doing it in March? It's freezing here." She's like, "Well, normally we do it in the fall, but it never worked out. And we come see Tama County pork producers and do some stuff with Iowa pork." And then they ended up touring Kinsey Manufacturing, which does grain carts and different planters, which is a very Iowa local thing. And they also toured, I can't remember where else, like the state capitol. They shook hands with
Yeah.
Governor Reynolds. And I was like, man, she doesn't even come out when we're there sometimes. Like this is very royal treatment. So it's pretty cool seeing that they come to Iowa, spend a couple days and see the pork side of it.
Absolutely. No, I if elected in June, I'm so excited for that. And I mean, I love to travel. That's kind of like my guilty pleasure is to travel and that kind of thing. So I'm super excited and I love all of your advice and everything. And maybe I don't know if you get to go to that conference again, but if elected, hopefully you're there and I get to meet you in person.
Got with Well, either way, I'll get to see you at Summit, which is in July in DC, and then National Convention. I was reading about ILSSO, and I guess they're not allowing people to go twice this year. That's kind of a bummer. So,
That is a
I
bummer.
mean, maybe I'll try and squeeze my way in. Maybe they won't notice, but you never know. But no, that if you are elected and get to do the Iowa trip, you will have to let me know, and I'll have to come bug you guys, see if I can find time in your guys' schedule to come bother you.
Absolutely.
I guess before we wrap up, Chloe, is there anything else that you feel like that you want to cover or that you haven't shared yet that you're like, this needs to be something that people hear?
I would say one big thing, like for all FFA members across the board, there is no like dream too big. When I was joking, like growing my flowers, everyone's like, "Why are you going to sell flowers? Like, this is Iowa. Like, how is that going to work?" And just know that it's going to be scary and you have to be brave with things that you want to do. There's going to be people that are going to doubt you, but always kind of just stay true to yourself and be brave. That's one thing I've heard other ag advisors who helped me interview prep for state president. They were just like, I always tell my kids for every competition, go be brave, do the hard things, do the big things, and be brave through every second of it. So that would been kind of be my little slogan of be brave and dream big.
I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chloe, for meeting with us today. I had a ball talking to you and learning from you. And I hope all of our FFA members that are listening to our podcast will continue to be brave and dream big. And I have loved learning about your SAE and getting to meet you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like your dedication to floriculture and just inspiring like other FFA members truly goes beyond the jacket. So, for all of you that are listening, we hope that you can continue on listening to our upcoming episodes and make sure to follow Beyond the Jacket for more real stories about real students in FFA sharing their supervised agricultural experiences and what they're going to do in their future.